Hello, everybody. Welcome to this wonderful platform of Foundation Agri Classes, where learning meets success. In this video, we are going to understand an important agriculture topic in a clear, structured, and concept-based manner. Today, we're diving deep into a crop that's a true staple food all around the world, wheat. We're going to cover everything you need to know about it, from its basic biology all the way to the nitty-gritty details of how it's grown. So, to kick things off, let's start with a big question. Why is wheat so often called the king of cereals? Now, this isn't just some fancy nickname. It's a title that's been earned through its global dominance and some really unique properties. Let's find out exactly what they are. To really understand wheat, we have to start at the beginning with its fundamental identity. Think of it as if we're meeting the plant for the very first time and getting its basic profile down. Okay, so the common bread wheat that we all know and love is botanically named Triticum aestivum. It's a member of the grass family, and its whole story began way back in Southwest Asia, in the area we now know as Turkey. But what's really fascinating is its genetic makeup. It's an allohexaploid. Now that sounds super complicated, I know, but just think of it like this. Instead of having just 2 sets of chromosomes, like many organisms, wheat has 6. This genetic richness is like its superpower, and it's the secret behind its incredible ability to adapt and grow almost anywhere in the world. On a global scale, wheat's footprint is just massive. When it comes to the sheer area of land planted with wheat, India is #1 in the world. But if we're talking about the total amount of wheat produced, the total tonnage, then China actually takes the lead. And what's really interesting is productivity, which is the yield you get per hectare. Here, the UK is the champion, which just goes to show how efficient modern farming can be under the right conditions. Now let's zoom in a bit and look at India. We see a pretty similar pattern here. The state of Uttar Pradesh has the largest area dedicated to growing wheat. For total production, though, Madhya Pradesh is the leading state. And when we talk about that all-important productivity, the state of Punjab is the most efficient, achieving the highest yields in the country. So we know where wheat comes from. Now let's take a look at its family tree. Because you see, not all wheat is created equal, and it all comes down to its genetics. Wheat species are categorized into 3 main groups, and it's all based on their chromosome numbers. First, you have the Diploid species with 14 chromosomes. Then come the Tetraploid species with 28. And finally, the most complex of them all, the Hexaploid species with 42 chromosomes. This genetic ladder really helps explain the evolution and incredible diversity we see within the wheat family. Let's start with the first 2 steps on that ladder. The Diploid species, like T. monococcum, are basically the ancient ancestors of the wheat we know today. Then you move up to the tetraploids, which have double the chromosomes. This group has some really interesting members. You've got emmer wheat, which is a key ingredient for a popular South Indian dish called upamavu. You also have macaroni wheat, also known as durum wheat. It's a tough, drought-resistant variety that gives us things like pasta and suji or semolina. And then there's pollard wheat, which is mostly grown as feed for livestock. And now for the king itself, the hexaploid species. This is where we find Triticum aestivum, or as we all know it, common bread wheat. This is the variety that completely dominates the scene, covering a massive 87% of India's wheat fields. It's what gives us our daily bread and our chapatis. And this was the hero of the Green Revolution, a story we'll get to in just a moment. So we know the different types. Now let's get into the science and the history that turned this humble grass into a global powerhouse. So what exactly makes wheat the king? Well, for one, it completely dominates the globe in both the area it's grown on and the amount that's produced. Its secret weapon, especially for baking, is a protein called gluten. This is what gives dough that wonderful, elastic, spongy texture. The flowering part of the plant is known as an ear or a spike. And here's a cool fact. The test weight of 1,000 wheat grains is about 40 to 42 grams. But a common wheat that mimics wheat, its grains weigh only 2 grams. It's a tiny difference, but it matters a whole lot to farmers. You know, the story of modern wheat is completely tied to the Green Revolution. It all started back in 1960 when a brilliant scientist named Dr. N.E. Borlaug isolated a special gene in Mexico called norin 10. This gene created dwarf wheat. These are plants with short, sturdy stalks that could hold much more grain without falling over. By 1963, these amazing new varieties were brought to India, and by 1965, they were released for farmers to use. The results? A massive, massive increase in yields that literally changed the face of agriculture in the country. And by the way, if you are finding this explanation helpful, don't forget to subscribe to Foundation Agri Classes for more agriculture-related informative videos and learning content. All right, let's do a quick fire round of some key technical details. These are great points to remember, especially for exams. First, the dwarfness genes you'll find in most Indian varieties are RHT1 and RHT2. For safe storage, the moisture content of the grain needs to be between 10 to 12%. The harvest index is a solid 40 to 45%. As for the plant type, wheat is a C3, long day, and self-pollinated plant. A beneficial biofertilizer used is azotobacter. And finally, its germination is hypogeal, meaning the cotyledons stay below the ground. That's a lot to take in, but each one is a crucial piece of the puzzle. Okay, now that we have the fundamentals down, let's talk about the specific varieties that are grown and the kind of climate they really need to thrive. Plant breeders have created an absolutely amazing array of wheat varieties, and each one is tailored for a specific job. You've got single, double, and even triple gene dwarf varieties, with each one being shorter and more productive than the last. Scientists have even used mutation breeding to create new varieties. And then you have the specialists, varieties designed for late sowing, for rain-fed areas, for salty soils, or even to fight off specific diseases like rust. It's really a testament to human ingenuity. Just like any living thing, wheat is pretty sensitive to temperature. It needs a nice warmth, around 20 to 25 degrees Celsius, to germinate. Then it prefers a cooler period to develop its shoots or tillers. And finally, it needs the heat turned back up to properly fill out the grains. Getting this temperature roller coaster just right is absolutely key for a good harvest. Okay, let's get practical. This next section is all about the cultivation cycle, from preparing the field right at the start to protecting the crop from all kinds of threats. Getting wheat seeds into the ground is a real science. The soil needs to be just right. A clay loam with a neutral pH is ideal. Timing is absolutely everything, with different schedules for irrigated and rain-fed crops. Even the amount of seed you use and how deep you plant it changes based on the variety and when you're sowing. It's a game of precision right from day one. There are actually quite a few ways to sow wheat, from very traditional methods to modern, high-tech ones. The best method is drilling, because it places each seed at the perfect depth and spacing for it to grow well. Simpler methods like broadcasting work, but they're less efficient, and you need more seed. And then at the other end of the spectrum, you have modern systems like the Fairb method, which is all about maximizing efficiency and yield. This image shows some really key reproductive stages for the wheat plant. The stage you see on the left, known as booting, is especially important. This is when the developing ear of the wheat is still wrapped up inside the sheath of the top leaf, making it look swollen. This is a critical point in the plant's life, and it's also a key time for irrigation. For wheats, the timing of water is everything. There are 6 critical windows when irrigation is most needed, but if you only remember one, make it this one, CRI, which stands for Crown Root Initiation. It happens at 21 days after sowing, and it is the most critical stage. Missing the single watering can cost a farmer almost half of their crop. It is the absolute make-or-break moment for the whole season. Of course, wherever you have crops, you're going to have weeds. The biggest enemy of wheat is a grassy weed called Phalaris minor. It's known as a mimicry weed, which means it looks so much like wheat that it can be really hard to spot until it's too late. Thankfully, there are specific herbicides that can take care of it, along with the other broadleaf weeds that compete for water and nutrients. And finally, farmers have to defend their crop against a whole host of diseases and pests, from devastating rust diseases to root-eating termites and weevils. So the crucial point is that being aware of all these threats is absolutely key to a successful harvest. So let's wrap this all up and do a quick conceptual recap. We started with the basics, learning that wheat is called the king of cereals, and its botanical name is Triticum aestivum. We saw its incredible genetic diversity classified into Diploid, Tetraploid, and Hexaploid species. We talked about its defining traits, like the gluten protein and the huge impact of the norin 1 dwarfness gene that sparked the Green Revolution. Then we moved into the practical side, looking at all the different varieties, the specific climate and temperature they need, and the entire cultivation process, from sowing methods to the 6 critical stages of irrigation, and finally, managing those pesky weeds, diseases, and insect pests. Thank you for watching. Keep learning, keep growing, and don't forget to subscribe to Foundation Agri Classes for more agriculture-related informative videos and content.